Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome. Wednesday night, MichICAN online radio. Hoping we got somebody out here listening. Some things are coming in and on, and with any luck, we've got a couple co-hosts coming in here anytime. So far, it sounds like the music, or at least the vocals, are pretty solid. Just bear with me here. I'm going to try to figure things out and make sure what's going on here. I'm not getting any sound here, though, but you seem to be hearing me. At least you seem to be hearing me. Anybody else out there? And we got any of our other guests on yet? Dom, you around there? Dana? Either one of you two around? Got anybody around yet? We should have a couple people showing up here, trying to get things running, get up and rolling. But I don't know that you are hearing me. Should be hearing me. Oh, yeah. Talking here. So, MichICAN Radio. This is a quick little brainstorm where our intention was pretty much just looking to station going. Not enough people talking about the real issues we have here in the state, especially when it comes to cannabis. Future of it, where we're going to go, what comes in 2016, what gets passed, what gets to the ballot, what may not get passed, what may not get to the ballot. There's a whole bunch of different things here that we could topic on that are, deeply entwined. I can hear me talking. I don't hear anybody else.
Hey, pretty baby with your high heels on, you give me feeling like I've never ever known. I feel the fever from miles around. I'll pick you up in my car and we'll take the time. Just kiss me, baby, and tell me twice. That's all the one. You really make me feel. You really turn me on. You knock me off of my feet now, baby. My lonely days are gone.
I like the room and you're walking on top of your dress. I feel the fever from miles around. I'll pick you up in my car and we'll bring this home. Just kiss me baby and tell me twice that you're the one for me. The way you make me feel, you really turn me on. You knock me off the gate. My lonely days are gone. Running the feeling you're giving me. There's only baby and I feel ecstasy. Oh, I'll be working from night to night to buy you things to keep you by my side. I never felt so young before. Just promise baby you'll love me forevermore. I swear I'll keep my new satisfied. Cause you're the one for me. The way you make me feel, you really turn me on. You knock me off my feet, but all the days are gone. Whenever felt the wind of before, just promise baby you'll love me forevermore. That's where I keep my new satisfied. You're the one for me. The way you make me feel, you really turn me on. You knock me off the gate, but all the days are gone. The way you make me feel, you really turn me on. You knock me off the gate.
Alright, we're going to try this, see if we can get some noise out of this thing or not. Hopefully you can hear the music. I can hear the music, so you should be able to hear the music. But hopefully you're hearing me. Something seems to be maybe funky on this side. When I first tried calling into the host queue, said they had a problem, so I had to recall in. Let me in this time, no problem. We'll see what happens here. I'm still waiting to see how do I get my guests in here, my guest host. I don't see anybody calling in yet. It doesn't tell me that there's anybody here besides myself. I'm looking around the dashboard, see like there's a few people here, possibly. For those of you that call in, the call-in number, if you're listening to me, is 646-668-2239. You can listen on there, but if you want to speak, you'll have to press number 1, I believe it is, and get into the caller queue. If somebody's calling in, would you do that? Just jump into the queue. Even if you don't want to talk, I want to make sure this thing's working right. So it should actually come in, and you should be able to push number 1 and get an access into the call-in line, into my switchboard here, and I should be able to bring you on live. We got 50 slots for people to call in and listen to and respond online if you want to. We're going to try to, let 40 of those fill through the night, through each show. But we're going to try to keep 5 to 10 of them open for people calling in to have questions. Of course, if you're listening in and just going to listen to the radio and you just want to hear the podcast, I would recommend you go to blogtalkradio.com /MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. That's MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. So blogtalkradio.com MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. And that should bring you over to the site, and you'll be able to get to the studio and the listen-in page from there. We're going to have these shows every night, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, running until 11 p.m. And as the next month or two goes on, hopefully we'll actually be able to get a few things done here and maybe grow this thing, get a yearly subscription, and run this thing right out to the election or beyond. Plans to go beyond. Have to excuse me, it's been a busy, long day here, and I'm eating a few pieces of shrimpy. We got anybody else listening? Possibly. If we do, great. Welcome. MichICAN Radio. Michigan Independent Cannabis Network is what that stands for. Got the web forum, or the web forum up and ready to go at michican.us. That would be www.michican.us. And you're listening to Blog Talk Radio Network and the Michigan Independent Cannabis Network, or MichICAN radio show. I'm one of your hosts. There are a couple others that I was hoping to get in here by now, but they got things going on. Still waiting to see if they can call in. If they want to call in, if they can't get in through the email invite that came through, they just have to use the guest call-in number at 646-668-2239. Excuse me. Pardon me. 646-668-2239. And then push 1. You're one of my co-hosts, and we'll get you on the queue, and we'll be able to get you up and on air. The telephone thing seems to be working a lot better than it did last night. It was really a pain in the butt trying to do anything last night because of the terrible internet connection with my ISP. I will be switching shortly, or so I hope, maybe sooner, and I'll get rid of this pretty much trollopy crap and actually get on a good solid internet connection. With any luck, that will make it a little bit easier. I won't have to worry about a phone. I'll be able to actually go back to the digital call-in and do everything right online because I'll actually have a real internet connection. So, Michigan and the future of cannabis in the state. Question? And there are a lot of avenues of answers. Every tangent goes deep into a whole nother part of the system that we call the system, the government. These things are intertwined like woven lace. You know, from prohibition of cannabis to the prison industrial complex to the overt government and Leo. You can take this cannabis issue and run it the gambit with it. Everything right down to our jobs. All of this is entwined into this cannabis issue. You can't even get a job without taking a drug test. Not a law, a policy. And we've accepted that policy for 40 years almost now, and now you can't even sneeze. You've got government waste, arresting people, trying to remove them from the system, trying to put them into the other part of the system. Representative Jeff Irwin from down in Ann Arbor area, Kalamazoo, a few months ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago, come up with a stat. I'm not quite sure where he get it, but I'll trust Mr. Irwin's resources. That says the state of Michigan spends approximately just over $500 million a year in taxes, getting people arrested for cannabis up through the court system. $550 each $1 million a year to put people in front of the judge, sometimes the jury, and then run them into the prison system. That doesn't count the time that they spend in prison, which costs us between $65,000 and $85,000 per year per prisoner. That's just getting the people to the prison door. $550 million, $500 million, and then $75,000 average $1,000 per prisoner. We know 60% of our prisoners are filled with nonviolent drug offenders. 60% of those prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders only. Most of them, the vast majority, were for small-time possession. That's why we passed the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. The stats were clear then. They haven't changed except that more people are being arrested today. But 99 out of 100 arrests in the nation for cannabis possession is for small-time possession, usually an ounce or less. And people are getting 2 to 5 years, 10 to 15 years life if they're caught with 3 ounces 3 separate times because of Bill Clinton and 3 strikes you're out. Or Poppy Bush in the war on drugs that he expanded under his presidency. Nixon starting the war on drugs after Timothy Leary won the Supreme Court case in '69 on the Marijuana Tax Stamp Act that was, unconstitutional. There's one of our people. Let me bring him in here. And let me see. I haven't been paying attention, Dom. Looks like I got Dom on here. You on there, Dom? You hear me? Hello, hello. You there, Dominic? I see you on hold. You should be there. You're not muted. You're up. And I believe this other one, maybe Dana. Try to bring her in.
Hello.
Hello. That must be Dominic. Is that you, Dominic?
Hello?
Can you hear
Tim?
me? Yes, this is Tim. Hello.
Hey, Tim.
Now, there's a delay here, so between us talking and us coming out online, there's about 30 seconds. So you'll hear me over the call queue, but if you're listening to the show in the background, it's going to be a few seconds behind us, maybe 30, 40
Sure.
seconds in a delay. Is this Dominic?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Dominic, second co-host here. I'm waiting to see if Dana. We had another caller at 443-989-443. Are you on there, caller?
Hello.
Caller at 443?
I hear somebody saying hello.
Yeah, that's you. That's the delay.
Okay.
I've got it playing slightly in the background so I can hear and make sure everything was coming out, but not loud enough to hopefully be a frequency or a feedback loop. And it doesn't seem to be squeaking, so.
Okay.
Boy, you sound like you're coming better through, a lot better than I am.
I didn't get you at first. I got on via email and didn't catch you.
Yeah, when I first tried calling in, it didn't accept my call either. Something kind of bumped up and bumped out.
Here's somebody saying hello.
The caller at 989-443, I'm going to put you on mute for right now. You're not saying nothing. I don't know if you wanted to talk. You're just listening in. You pushed one and got in the host queue. I'm wondering if that might be Dana. So if it is Dana, I'm going to put you on hold for a minute there, Sunshine. Yeah, you're coming out real good there, Dom. My voice seems to be kind of, how do I sound on your side? Does it sound solid?
I didn't get you at first. I got on via email and
You there, Dom?
didn't catch you.
Hello?
Okay, I think I see what, it looks like.
I'm the 443-4351.
Okay, well, I got you on twice. It must have been when you tried to dial in or do
Okay,
the
yep.
online connect. Yep, okay,
Yep.
that's what it is. So when you did the online connect, it showed you coming up there. So I can do it, because that one came up as Dominic.
Yep.
You're actually talking off the 443 number, okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me get rid of this one. Oh, interesting. I'll have to double check. I'll get rid of your
I was going to tag some friends into this before I got online, but I tagged a couple on it.
I seen you pushed a couple in there. Okay, now I see what I got. I got me.
4351.
And then I got you. No other callers yet. That's fine. We got somebody else. Can you hear me over there?
Yep.
I mean, you can probably hear me through the phone. Do you have the show tuned in at all, or no?
On email?
No, I mean, when you're listening right now. Are you
I can.
hear everything I'm saying to you, but do you have the show tuned in somewhere else, or no?
No, I'm just on the phone.
Okay. I'm hearing
I was gonna
come through.
before I got on.
This is you on the other one,
I tagged a couple.
but I don't know. Let me hear how I'm coming through there. Yeah, it seems like I'm maybe just way too far away from the phone. I'm just setting the phone down here and trying to talk into it, but it's not picking me up all that great. So I'm probably
Right.
going to have to talk closer to it. Give me a second here, and
I think
we'll see, because I just picked the phone up, and it's about coming through the air, so it should get a little bit hotter.
no, I'm just on the phone.
You sound solid, and it's great, though. That's a good solid.
Good. Well, that's good.
Oh, we still hear somebody talking.
Yeah, I was listening when you first got on, and then I had somebody come over real quick, and I figured, man, let me get online and start getting people on here so they can listen.
Yeah.
And then I figured I'd jump online. I didn't know how long you was going to be on tonight. Is it a 2-hour show, or is it a half hour? Or I seen something about a half hour. Oh, 2 hours?
No, we're on 2 hours. Yep, we got hour and 29 remaining. so we're just getting about a half hour in. Seems to be coming through the website as far as Blog Talk Radio on the show accent. It's coming through pretty good. Like I hear you really solid. I'm not quite as solid, but I can fix that by turning me a little bit more over to the, closer to the microphone on the phone so I can hear. I actually I had a setup where I could actually do a microphone earbud piece, but I can only do an earbud piece on this phone. It doesn't have a microphone connection, which would have been nice because then you could really hear me because the mic would be next to my throat, but it is what it is. I'm coming through not solid, but solid enough.
Once you get it figured out, we'll have it get set up nice.
Oh, yeah, it's coming around. Let's say we got one guest over in the guest chat. Not sure who that is, but that's all right. They're being nice and quiet. We got at least one person listening online.
That's awesome.
Trying to the numbers here and the stats. It's a nice little dashboard. It gives you, you create your shows and you get a little host tools area where you can look at your stats, your online listeners, messages, that kind of thing, audience updates. Of course, we're just starting out, so it's going to be real slow. Slow, real slightly. I don't know why it's doing this, but it's a little funky, but we'll see how it goes. So far, things ain't too bad. So, Dom, what got you interested in this whole idea of getting active here? I guess if it's only going to be you and I, we may as well at least talk about some of this stuff. This is all going to
be... Sounds...
So it'll all be on archive, so people will be able to listen later again.
Well, I tell you, can you still hear me good?
Oh, yeah. Hear you fine.
Well, it all started, actually, Tim, when I met you. I always wanted to get in, but it's hard for me to voice my opinion. But when I do, I feel great about it. But you taught me a lot of things, and if we can get this thing up and going and jumping, I think we got a good shot at it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, every day I'm talking to people, in person, on the phone, online. Other people are posting up. I mean, the legalization of recreational marijuana is a big topic. It's the only topic people are talking about in the country, and that's the problem, in my opinion. We need to have a huge discussion, and we can't do that talking about the least, what I'm going to say is the least beneficial in a public eye aspect of it. I mean, this is medical marijuana law. When we passed that in 2008, it was, everything was centered around, all we're going to have is a bunch of stoners. Just a bunch of high-ons looking for a free ride and getting an easy way out from the system and all this other crap.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because, the thing that they screamed about the most was people are just going to be high all over the place, recreationally using. And now, the only discussion we can have is let's talk about the recreational marijuana. The one thing we know everybody in the state's going to beat on. Why aren't we talking about the apoptosis of the cancer cells? Why aren't we talking about the removal of the seizures? Why aren't we talking about the $13 billion a year in hemp that this country imports, over $9 billion of which is from China? $500 million comes out of Canada, along with their garbage that Michigan sees at 21 cents a ton. Thank you very much, Jennifer. So many other things we need to talk about that recreational cannabis should be the last thing we have to breach and broach on the topic. And it should be the cherry on the cake, the butter on the bread. We got to talk about the butter.
That's right.
That, to me, makes no sense. I mean, we're talking about, okay, let's look at the numbers. There's roughly just under 10 million people in the state. Now, by all accounts, about 15% or maybe 1.5 million of these people are cannabis users in the aspect they have used cannabis at least once in the last 6 months.
Right.
So So, 1.5 million people, that's, 15% of the state, even 10%, about, 900,000, 950,000 people, a million people, that's a good portion of the population.
It's a good chunk.
But it's a good chunk, but it's still a small chunk, 10%. That's not a very large fraction of people. So, sure, maybe 10% of these people will have a little better, situation if we legalize recreational cannabis. Are they going to lose their job or be able to keep their job, or are they still going to be doing drug tests? Yep, all three. They'll be able to keep it, they'll be able to lose it, and they'll still have to do a drug test. Legalization of recreational cannabis doubles down on drug tests. It doubles down on, them looking for a reason to you or fire you or do whatever that they want to do. When you've got one job and 20 people working, they'll beat you out any way they can if they can hire the next guy for $5 less. Hell, they'll do it for less because they don't have to pay the benefits and the 5 years of vacation that you've built up. They can fire you and hire a guy for a nickel less and save a lot of money. And these are just these are drops in the bucket. This whole tax issue.
Exactly.
Another avenue. I mean, I thought it was pretty clear on May 5th when over 80%, I think the numbers was about 83% of all 83 counties who voted on May 5th for the tax increase said, blow it out your butthole. This state, the voters did want nothing to do with an extra penny in sales tax, a few extra cents in gas tax. The government is $74 billion in debt, and we got $8 billion in the kitty, and they're trying to say we're on our path to economic recovery when the debt is growing faster than the kitty with the money in it to pay the debt. Now you know why everybody's talking pot for potholes.
That's right.
I'd rather talk hemp street for a hemp road.
Well, that's the best start right there is the hemp itself. I think one of the main reasons is this state does need hemp, and I believe all states need hemp.
Well,
I mean
for a long time it's been a staple. I mean, an absolute staple of not American life, period. The ships wouldn't have sailed the ocean blue in 1492, and Columbus wouldn't have discovered not America, but Portugal. Had there not been hemp and cannabis to make canvas, to make sails, all the ships back in the day, they didn't sail with flax sails. They didn't sail with cotton sails. They certainly didn't sail with nylon sails. They sailed with hemp sails. Each of the ships that came over from England and dropped off the people at Plymouth Rock was sealed with hemp tar in the boards to keep them from leaking water. The ropes were hemp ropes for all the rigging and all the sails, including the sails, were hemp. We wouldn't be in this country. We wouldn't be in any country. Nobody would be in any country because we all would have died a long time ago.
Of course.
It's the same thing to me. I mean, people call it hemp, marijuana, it's all the same thing. There's one plant. It's got a few different cousins like roses. A rose is still a rose, even if it's a red one, a blue one, a special one, or a prize.
That's right.
Still a rose. It may have a special thing to it, but it's still a rose.
Well, and that's the thing, a lot of people out there, they kind of get them mixed up. They think one's different or the other, and that's one of the good things about the site is you can sit there and teach the people that doesn't understand and realize what we are going up against, and and I do know that, like we were talking before, that a lot of the people, they're scared, that, like you said earlier, they're scared to get involved because of their jobs and because of the things that they know that they can get in trouble for, and that's one of the hang-ups that we're having in the cannabis industry. I mean, And it's too bad that they should be scared for something that our forefathers and everybody else figured out was going to help us in the long run. And since the government can't make, well, they can, but they're being greedy and...
Well, I mean, there's a whole nother, line of talk behind that section of it. I mean, most people listening and most people out there and who have looked into this with any kind of depth in, looking for some honest information, all come up against the fact that the whole reason cannabis was made illegal was built on lies. I mean, you got the whole racism side of it. Yes, that was a big part of it. That sold like hotcakes, the radios and the radio ads today, the newspaper ads, the articles, yellow propaganda, yellow journalism at the time, which hasn't changed. We've got it just as much today, even more so than we had back then. The journalism today is just really sad. But the whole reason it was made illegal was not because it was dangerous to you or me or our kids or our white daughters against the colored people sold back then. It was because of everything cannabis can do outside of the recreational buzz.
Exactly.
It's the 2 acres of cannabis replaces 100 barrels of crude oil. Our farmers could be growing our gasoline. But no, it's easier and a lot more beneficial and a lot more profitable to go with crude oil and invade other countries. Because then we get to control their countries' economies too.
And we take up less space than most. The cannabis, for the way, if you get a farmer that wants to grow cannabis to help out make hempcrete for the world, I mean, great, and you get a lot of room for that compared to if you was to go right to the source of gasoline, as you were saying.
Well, I had before, if anybody's looked out there, in the car, all the plastic on the car was made from hemp-derived plastics. So anything we can do with plastic, which comes from the petrochemical, back to that 100 barrels of oil and 2 acres of hemp, all that, anything out of plastic can be made out of hemp. And it's going to be better quality. It's going to be biodegradable. It's not going to poison the land. It actually, as it breaks down, it'll help recreate the soil. Compared to the, petrochemical plastic, which is there for hundreds, if not thousands of years before it starts breaking down, and then it just, leaches off the chemicals, which really doesn't help the soil, or us, or anybody that's alive, or anything that's alive. There's the CO2. I don't believe in global warming in the aspect that it's being sold to us. Is the world heating up? Sure, it's heating up a little bit. But if you really look, so is the rest of our solar system. So unless somebody's willing to say mankind is responsible for the same 1.5 degrees Celsius in the last 100 years temperature increase this planet has seen, if we're responsible for this one, then we must be responsible for the same 1.5 degrees on Jupiter, on the moon, on Mars, on Venus, on Uranus, even on little old Pluto. Way out there in the corner, Pluto has increased almost identical in temperature in its atmosphere and surrounding areas in space as it has here on the Earth. So unless man is really efficient at global warming and we're actually universal warming, yeah, it's warming up, but we have nothing to do with it. Poisoning the soil, poisoning the air, poisoning the water, absolutely. We're all involved in that. But heating it up, no. The CO2 thing's a big lie. CO2, anybody in the cannabis community who grows cannabis will know CO2 is what we call plant food.
Exactly.
The more CO2 it is, the more the plants have food. The more food they have, the more oxygen they create because they can take that CO2 in and expel oxygen. So, this whole idea of CO2 is rising and it's going to kill us, no, I don't think so. If it was going to, it would have done it thousands of years ago, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on, whose story you want to follow back through time.
Well, and that's going back to the same thing, pushing it on one thing and not covering the basis of the plant itself, you know, for what it's doing good for us. And they want to, everything is a negative, and that's why the people that who are negative, they hear these things, and that's why that we're the way we're at right now, is because they talk negative, and it's supposed to be reefer madness, you know, leads to other drugs, but
Right.
I mean, everybody I know that started off in anything started off smoking cigarettes. So I mean, if that's a lead to another drug, then I don't know what they're speaking about, because I know lots of people that went from cigarettes to many of other things.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I started smoking cigarettes steady, daily, pretty much around 12 years old. Maybe a little bit before my 13th birthday, I kind of, you know, got to be the cool kid and do what all the cool kids are doing. My parents were smokers, you know, they both smoked all their life. My mom's still alive, 80 years old, healthy as a horse, smokes a pack a day. Doctor tells her she's got some of the best ones out there. You know, this whole gateway thing, you know, yeah, that's a you know, another huge misnomer, another huge lie, you know, another huge deception. You know, I don't know about you, but I remember the first drug I was ever given was that little orange chewable baby aspirin my mom gave me when I was a year or two old.
Exactly.
Our parents were
I got the same one, Tim.
Yep, our parents were told, oh, you know, I was told that with my kid. Oh, little fever, little bear baby aspirin, orange chewables. We had cherry at that time, you know, so she got cherry. She didn't care for the orange. But, you know, they have taught us to be the drug pushers on our children. Oh, your kid's got the sniffles, go see the doctor. They've got a pill for that. Oh, your kid's got a cough, go see the doctor. Oh, you've got a headache, go see the doctor. They've got a pill for that. You know, you ask me, the gateway drug is flipping TV advertisement.
Exactly.
You know, it's there's so many different things in there. You know, that could be positive things. You know, gateway drug, yeah. I was drinking alcohol. You know, at my sister's birthday, my sister's wedding, I was 5 years old. Sat on my dad's lap, drank his champagne, drank his 7-7, drank his beer. Today, they'd be throwing him in jail for being a bad parent. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't even drink. If I drink 2 beers a day anymore, literally. I mean, I don't think I've drank in a beer in 3 years. I've had coffee with some Bailey's ice cream, 1 or 2 of those.
Right.
Yeah, every month, maybe I'll grab a fifth, and every couple, you know, you have a little bit of Bailey's in my coffee, but I'm creaming in it. You know, not even enough alcohol in you know, in my coffee the day to say you got a shot. You know, so yeah, I'm not a drinker. I don't do other drugs. Not that I haven't tried, haven't experimented. I think many people have. You know, we've got presidents that have, and they admitted it.
Exactly.
I mean, let's not remember, you know, he didn't inhale. You know, with Clinton and Bush, you know, Bush has some cocaine issues in his past. We'll forget the family ties in the CIA, but, you know, there's cocaine in George W. Bush's past. I don't think, you know, we know Kennedy was smoking cannabis in the White House, in the Oval Office.
That's what we hear.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of the stuff that's absolutely true that, you know, people say, no, that can't be, but the documents are there. The reports are there. The government studies are there. People just don't want to believe it. They'd rather listen to somebody telling them what to believe than go look for themselves, because we've been
exactly.
Believe in that authority. You will respect my authority.
And if you don't, you'll be locked away.
Yep, Chris Christie's giving us the Cartman treatment right now.
Yeah, here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this whole election system. Hell, I don't even know that we're going to see an election next year if the economy doesn't. I know they say it looks good, but if you've been following the BRICS nations, it's not as pretty as they want you to believe it is. But, you know, it's...
Well,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I tell you one thing about the presidency. I sure hope, and I have nothing against Trump, but I sure hope he doesn't get in there. He's seems like he's a loose cannon.
Well, compared to what we had over the last 40 years, maybe we need a loose cannon.
Could be. Could be.
There's a lot of things about Trump, in my opinion. Number one, if you understand how our money in this country works, the Federal Reserve dollar, once you understand that fundamental function of how that dollar came to be, how it actually represents value in our system, in our current system, you'll end up finding out, Trump ain't no different than the rest of them when it comes to the bottom line. Because, he went bankrupt a couple times with his corporations, and if you understand the dollar, you understand that bankruptcy was turned onto the backs of the taxpayers.
Exactly.
All bankruptcies are. If I go down and file bankruptcy for $10,000, the taxpayers are responsible for that bankruptcy. Not me, not the county, all the taxpayers, because that just gets rolled into the national debt. Which is why our national debt's $18 trillion and growing. We're $74 billion in the state and $18 trillion in the country. And that ain't getting any better.
Definitely not. And will that happen with a good president? Who knows?
No. I listened to the latest Chris Van Hall show, and, she's right on the money that, this system is set up for them versus us. It don't matter how you get there. Once you get into the system, you're part of them. There is no us in that system, just like there's no us in the just us system. Why do we have a criminal justice system? Why don't we have a victim's justice system?
Exactly.
Why
should be.
Get justice. I mean, I understand that you're falsely accused and all that stuff, but usually the victim should be the focus of the issue and not the criminal. But we want to focus on the bad. Don't want to focus on the the stuff that actually means something. We can't focus on the relevant. We got to focus on the irrelevant, so we can keep this lie going.
That's right.
So yeah, when you look at Trump. One thing I will say about Trump, he ain't going to be beholden to anybody else's money.
Right.
He's going to say what's on his mind. He don't care who's listening because they can't outspend him.
That's exactly true with that. And he does got a lot of good points. I mean, he does make some good points. I listened to him yesterday in Birch Run, and I don't know if you caught that or not, but Yep, he was in Birch Run yesterday.
Tell us about that. What was it like?
Well, I know one thing, he was all for the Latinos and women. He said he'll get a lot of votes from the Latinos and the women. One of the main things he was talking about was Jeb Bush. He doesn't like Jeb Bush, and he made it very clear that Jeb Bush is no good, but
Jeb's part of that. Anybody who's taking a look, I mean, he's part of the Bush family, so that's one strike in my opinion.
Exactly.
I mean, when you go back to Iran-Contra, you can go into a few of our historically major issues over the last 20 years, and Jeb Bush's name is tied to them. The Iran-Contra, the CIA running drugs and weapons in and out of the country in the 90s and 80s. We had, of course, the Iran issue, the South American, Nicaraguan was getting the guns and as well, and then we were bringing cocaine up here, and some of that cocaine, according to court records or congressional records, as part of Iran-Contra, some of that cocaine was coming in through the naval base in Miami, which at the time Jeb Bush was Attorney General of Florida, and Attorney General has control of all naval bases operation in the state, in Florida, as I understand it. Which means why the naval base was, the CIA was running cocaine in the military base down there. Jeb Bush was pretty much overseeing it for his dad, Poppy, who was president.
Exactly.
And don't call him Poppy because he's a good grandpa. His name he got the name because of the heroin, the opium poppies.
That's right.
When you go back and look, Poppy ain't about Poppy. Like, oh, Poppy. Yeah, I mean, that's why our guys were in Afghanistan. That's why they went there in the 80s. We went there to force out the Russians because they were bad. The Russians were burning all the Afghan poppy fields. They were destroying them. So they had to get the Russians out of Afghanistan in the 80s because, well, CIA was going to lose all their blackout money from all the cocaine and heroin they were running into the United States. And if you think that's crap, you need to look at Freeway Ricky Ross's trials. This guy, in trial, in court, in the district court over in California, had a Median drug cartel spy on his behalf. Now, this Median drug cartel guy was working with the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. He was an informant for the CIA and had some links to the FBI, as it was said. But he was the guy that Freeway Ricky Ross was getting all the cocaine from, all the crack from, that was being turned over in L.A. in the 80s and early 90s. Freeway Ricky Ross was tricking $10 million a week in crack cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah, a week for this Median drug cartel guy, and he was turning the crack for the CIA and the DEA. DEA were turning their eyes on it, and the CIA was, of course, getting the money and buying guns and then sending them down to Nicaragua and to, who else? Osama bin Laden, to go fight the Russians in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
How quaint is that? Doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy about Jeb Bush for president?
I'm starting to get a little fuzzier.
Oh, let me make it real fuzzy. Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton are partners. Mena, Arkansas was a huge part of Iran-Contra because that's where the rest of the cocaine was being come in. And Little Arkansas and Mena, or Little Airport in Arkansas called Mena. Mena Airport, a little town called Mena up in the northwestern side over by the Texas border. Barry Seal, infamous CIA cocaine pilot. Air America was made about some of Barry's antics and some other antics that the CIA did down in Nicaragua and the Median drug cartel in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, he before he died, he came right out in congressional records and testimonies on court documents in court cases that, yes, he was flying planes for the CIA, and he was flying tons of cocaine into Mena, Arkansas, which was under the governorship of William Jefferson Clinton Blythe. And I say Blythe because his real name is Blythe. Clinton is his adopted name. He was adopted, and Clinton is his adopted father's name. His dad, Mr. Blythe, according to some of the documents out there that I've come across and heard other people reading from and talking to or talking about, was a CIA asset. And possibly a mob hitman. Depends on history you want to know with that. So that's what they say about the real father of William Jefferson. Now, Hillary Rodham, here's a little peach of sunshine. In the 50s and 60s, according to what I understand, her father was Hugh Rodham, major player in Chicago, major political player in Chicago, and according to other records, mob boss in Chicago.
Right.
So if that's true, then Hillary is nothing more than a little mob princess. Can you say Sopranos? What was her daughter's name? That's the future Hillary?
That's
this woman's career from getting booted off gate hearing by the head of the committee investigating, who was a leading Democrat, said she was more corrupt than he basically said she was more corrupt than Nixon. He fired her. The Democrats fired Hillary Rodham Clinton, the Democrat, to get her off the Watergate team because of her uncouth, illegal actions as part of the lawyer team on Watergate.
Right.
So yeah, we've got the Clintons, and I've been saying since 2012, but most certainly since last year, and end of last year, a year before, that we're looking at 2016 is going to be the same old two families, Clinton versus Bush. Although as things go on, I am seeing a slight picture develop that how shocked would you be if it come down to Clinton and Bush, i.e. one's going to be president, one's going to be vice president. I see these two one of them scouting from their party and actually teaming up with the other one. That may sound a little far-fetched, but they're both members of the Council on Foreign Relations, so they're business partners through and through, thick and thin. And Bernie is too. Bernie's part of that Council on Foreign Relations. There's another guy. He speaks a lot of great stuff. So did Obama in 2008. He spoke a lot of great stuff too, and look how that turned out.
Exactly.
We're going to make the most transparent government, which has got even more secretive than any other before. We need to dramatically reform the country and bring in a national police force like they had in 1933 Nazi Germany. The Stasi was a great police force. Let's do that here. So yeah, and the crazy thing is, all of this still cannabis in one way, shape, or form. All of this stuff can tie back to cannabis. Not just the heroin, not just the opium, not just the cocaine or the ecstasy or the LSD, which was created by government labs for the military. For anybody else who didn't know, LSD was not just happenstance. It was generated to do exactly what it did under the MK Ultra program. They were looking at ways to mind control people, and LSD was one of the first things they tried. They tried cannabis too, but it just wouldn't work.
That's right.
That's because cannabis breaks the programming ability. It doesn't entice it and deepen it, which is why it's still illegal. They know people who use cannabis, you can't bull crap a bull crapper, especially if the bull crapper's aware. And that's that's one of the biggest reasons why it's an issue. I mean, got 100 of them, but the fact is, it makes you pay attention to things you typically would not pay attention to. And people that pay attention are hard to fool.
And that's the people they don't want. People like you and me.
That's the people they don't want. You're absolutely right. They can't have too many people getting woke up, being aware of what's going on around them. It only took 3% of our nation to bring war against King Henry. And it wasn't about taxes.
Exactly.
It was about the colonial script and the hemp. Hemp, because hemp was giving us ways of breaking away from the needs and requirement of getting our crap from England. And the colonial script was the very first fiat currency in the country, printed off Ben Franklin's own printing press. 0 taxes, 0 fees, 0 interest. It was a one-to-one change for barter. There was no cost for anybody to use that colonial script. And because of that, the nation was exploding. The king couldn't have that. You would have been usurped. But he got usurped anyways because he was being usurped by the Rothschilds at the time and British East India Trade Company and Holdings. Now, if you acronym that out, that's BEITCH. British East India Trade Company, and Holdings. So this is the original beach when they said the beach was back. They were talking about the British East India Trade Company, not the actual.
Exactly.
It's amazing how things today, we take these euphemistic little sayings, but when you trace them back, the importance that they hold. And I think marijuana is one of those words. Everybody says it's slang, it's derogatory on the, Hispanics and South American peoples. But I think if you really go back in the history of the actual etymology of the word, the Southern peoples in the 16th, 17th, 1800s took to Christianity pretty heavy. Of course, they probably had no choice because it was probably being put to their throat with a knife, take it or die. That being said, whatever the case is, they fell into Catholicism, went into Catholicism as the main religion. And, of course, Catholics find, the Virgin Mary, the Mother Mary, very sacrilegious, very holy, very, sanctity. And, so Mary was associated with miracles, great happenings, great events. And then back in the day, depending on what dialect you came from South America, Juana seems to be an old, maybe Mayan, Incan word for herbs. So when you put the two together, marijuana, you actually could come up with the etymology, which could have actually been miracle herb or miracle herb, causing miracles, healing people. So, marijuana, why today is seen as derogatory, I'm not so sure originally that was the intent. It was well known. It was called marijuana by the South American people at the time. That's why they picked up on it here in government and big business, because nobody knew what marijuana was, but everybody knew what hemp and cannabis was.
Exactly.
In 1936, Popular Mechanics put an article out, the $10 billion a year crop, talking about cultural expansion in the United States, circa 1936, 1937. It was right after the development and patent of the machine called the corticator. Up until then, it was very intensive manual labor to, get the hemp out of the field and process it. The corticator would replace 10 guys in the field, which was huge. I mean, that's a lot of labor, 10 guys all day long. One machine could replace all their work in 8 hours of time.
Exactly.
Replacing basically 10 people, 16-hour work days with one machine in 8 hours. Kind of like McDonald's $15 an hour workers are going to get when they get $15 an hour. They get replaced by the order it yourself machine.
That's right, which they don't understand.
Yeah, well, they will. When they're getting their pink slips and they don't have any job anymore, they'll understand what that $15 an hour meant.
That's right.
That all being said, you look into that. So you put that in, you tie it in with, this marijuana, this unknown drug that's causing all the people to go crazy, and the yellow journalism from Anslinger and Hirsch and, all the other DuPont was a huge one in there. DuPont, part of Dow, part of Monsanto. These three companies are intricately entwined. DuPont was, enveloped into Monsanto, or Monsanto was enveloped into DuPont in the 40s, and then by the 50s, of course, they were kind of separate entities, but one was owned by the other for the most part. I think DuPont owned Monsanto at the time, but then Monsanto had enough profits that they bought them out. Of course, George Soros owns Monsanto. So it's hard to say how that incestuous little relationship started, but Monsanto, Dow, DuPont, Anslinger, Hearst Papers, who just bought billions of acres on the west side of the country to turn into paper, trees into paper. So, they've seen the cotton industry, which would have been replaced by better fabric out of, hemp. So, there's, the burgeoning industrial pharmaceutical complex, which comes out of the petrochemical complex. So they all were seeing losses of revenue with the legalization, or, if hemp stayed available in this corticator machine going out in full force to the farmers. So instead of, going behind behind that and letting our farmers, which are the heart of this country, without farms we have no country. Everything has to be brought in, and it means it costs you money to get it to your door, which means it costs you more money in the cash register. So yeah, you put all this together, and it turns into trillions of dollars since 1937. I mean trillions. You take all the papers, all the plastics that comes out of the petrol industry, all the pharmaceutical drugs, all the textiles, the fabrics, the nylons, the what was the fake leather, the pleathers, and all this other vinyl, all this stuff comes out of petrochemical, which could have been made from hemp, and our farmers could grow in it. Yeah. Like I was saying earlier, hemp roads or hemp creep for hemp roads instead of pot for potholes. Pot for potholes, yeah, sure, 10% excise tax on a few of the people. Earlier we were talking about maybe 10% of the state would be what we would consider a recreational smoker. But how many of those people are going to be willing to go in, sign their name in front of cameras with sound that's monitored by the state and quite possibly their bosses to go buy recreational cannabis so they can get fired tomorrow?
Not many.
Yeah, I see. This is one of the disconnects with this recreational discussion is, okay, 10% of the state smokes, but how much of that 10% is actually going to utilize
come forward
businesses and come forward and come out of the closet? I can tell you it's going to be less than the 10% of 10%, or less than 1%, less than 100,000 people, which is about what we got in cannabis patients right now. Medical marijuana patients in the state, about 120,000, maybe, give or take, 90,000. So, yeah, I don't see legalization of recreational cannabis opening the door for anybody who's still hiding behind the closet. They're still going to lose their job, and $100 fine, I'll buy that when I see it. I believe
exactly.
I believe the intent. They really think that's where they're going to go. But $100 is a lot less than $10,000 per court case that they charge the taxpayers. So you tell me what the system's going to want to do. Hit the $10,000 court cases where they can charge the taxpayer $10,000, or just charge the guy who's guilty of a crime for $100. I mean, they're going to have to get 1,000 guys just to make up that money. So are we going to see 1,000 more people getting ticketed for $100 than what we would have today just to make up the loss? There's so many things that legalization leaves off the table. Even if a couple of them are talking about legalizing the hemp, they're talking about doing it quietly on the side market. It's only going to affect 20 farmers out of the entire state instead of all the farmers?
Well, I tell you, every person I've talked to that's down for legalization, every single one of them, they all tell me that let's take baby steps. Let's get on the board first with legalization, then we'll fight for a full repeal on prohibition. I said, why do baby steps when we can take a leap of faith and get her done the way it should be done in the first place?
Yeah, I mean,
but they want to. They all agree with what we're saying, and that's what part I don't understand. But they all, and I don't know if that's a money thing or what the issue is on that, but I know a lot of them, they want to do the legalization for a baby step. Let's just get it legalized. Well, I disagree with that. Let's not get it legalized. Let's get it the prohibition taken care of and get it out of the way, and we don't got to even worry about, as you say, these hundreds and $10,000 worth of money that's going through, and there's a lot of money that's getting paid out for something that should be legal in the first place.
Well, I mean, there's good points in that, what you bring up. I mean, on that subject, okay, we're talking baby steps. Well, I know a lot of people, like you had said, a lot of these people, we got to take baby steps. These are mostly people who support legalization over the recreational. But might I remind these folks, 2008 was our baby step. And we didn't take a baby step. We stepped right out on the platform. It wasn't no tippy toes to go out to 2008. In 2007 and leading up to the election in 2008, everybody I talked to said, oh, I'd love for this medical marijuana bill to pass. They will never let it happen. And I don't think it'll happen in the state. But I was confident if it made the ballot, it would make the pass.
Right.
Showing right on that. I mean, I was, 2008, I wasn't involved in anything. I was a hidden guy staying in the closet. Job, and I didn't want to lose it. I had a daughter, and I didn't want her taken from me.
That's right.
You can go out, any excuse you want. There's 1,000 of them, and we all have used them at one point or another. But, in this idea of baby steps, geez, that's what we did in 2008. And like I said, we didn't tippy-toe out there on that one. The Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, had it been implemented fully by the Democrats in 2008, we wouldn't be here today, and it would have turned into one of the best laws in this country. Absolutely. Now, a lot of people will say that's wasn't a baby step, but and I agree, except I agree on the opposite side. This was a huge step because we didn't pussyfoot around with it. Michigan's not a pussyfoot around kind of state. We want to kind of do it, get done with it, and go back to the beach.
That's right.
People are fed up. And May 5th was a perfect example of the electorate being fed up. So, tie these things together. We made our baby step in 2008. We stepped out there with the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, made our little baby step. Another baby step. Okay, so we made our baby step, we'll say, in 2008, and then turned around. Here it is, 2015, 7 years later, 6.5 years, coming up on 7 years since we've, actually enacted the act. And, things have gotten worse in the state. We started out okay, and they've regressed instead of progressed on the platform. We've got all this new issues. Arrests are still happening, and actually they've increased in the state instead of went down. So the state's abusing the very will of the people that was supposed to stop the state and the Leo from abusing people. At least those with legitimate medical issues who had, doctor's recommendation. So, on this baby step, are we going to take another 7 years for the next baby step, or is it going to be another 80 years for the next baby step? I might not be here in 7 years, and I know I won't be here in 80 years. Not unless the Bible comes true and it actually, where it says people will be wanting for death and they won't be able to die. Well, I don't expect to be here 80 years from now. I'll be 130 years old. If I'm still here, somebody give me some baby powder because I'm going to be smelly. But, so, baby steps. Man, I was on my feet. This is no kidding. I was walking at 9 years old. I haven't baby stepped in 48 years, and I'm tired of trying to do it again. I think a lot of people agree with that. Everybody says, oh, it's a great idea. Yes, it's a utopian idea. Oh, it'll never pass. They'll never let it happen. Well, who in the hell is they?
Exactly.
You are they, because you are
exactly.
Yeah, we are the electors. When we say they will never let it happen, what we are really saying, we will never allow ourselves to do it.
Exactly.
That's a different statement altogether, but it says the same exact thing either way. Michigan Constitution. We've got, how long we got here? We got maybe 20 minutes here, 30, 40 minutes yet, so we still got a little bit of time. Let me jump over here. I'm going to pull up the old Michigan Constitution a little bit. I want to read the very top of this little baby. Let me see if I can find it in my, Article 1, Michigan Constitution. I believe this is the link I'm looking for. Let this little bad boy load on this slow internet connection. Oh, yes, there we go. Article 1 of the Michigan Constitution is entitled Declaration of Rights and consists of 27 sections. Section 1, political power. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal benefit, security, and protection. Now, Dom, I've been called not the sharpest tool in the knife block, or the sharpest knife in the block, or and I've been called a pretty blunt tool. But which part of all political power is inherent in the people says they won't let it happen? Well, hello. Poochie wants to get out here and say hi. So yeah, right there, Section 1, and that is all Section 1 says. That is the gist of it. 2 sentences on political power. All political power is inherent in the people. That's we.
Exactly.
Government is instituted, not created, not divined, not federally authorized. Government is instituted for their, being the people, equal benefit, security, and protection. End of Section 1. Done. Period. Game over. So, ladies and gentlemen, you say they won't let it happen. Please repeat that statement with the real statement, meaning I won't let that happen, because that's what you are saying when you say they won't let it happen. Because the point is yours. But if you don't vote, and if they convince you voting doesn't work, and they're right, it doesn't, because 60% of you don't do it, which means 30% are left to it, which means 10 to 20% make the decision. 60% of you don't vote, 20% of you make a decision. What number would make more sense to you, the 60% or the 20%? So
right.
People that say voting doesn't matter, you're right. If you don't vote, it doesn't matter, because you have done nothing to help yourself out.
Well, everybody now says it's electoral votes that works. That's why they don't vote, I hear a lot of people say.
But that's on presidential. I mean, electoral votes boil down to presidential. Yeah, they deal with senatorial in the off-season, every midterm vote. But bottom line, when 19% of the people who can vote do, and they're the 19% that vote one way and win, and 60% of the people who can vote don't, who would vote could, those are numbers they can't even predict. There's 2 things to look at here on this whole voting issue. This idea of not voting or voting, it doesn't matter, it does matter. If you don't vote, it doesn't matter, because you have not participated in your duty to help run this country.
Exactly.
That's our duty. It's not the government's job. That's our job. The political power is ours. So if you don't take your inherent responsibility, somebody's going to take that for you. And there's a statement that goes out there. What's that?
I said, like the younger crowd says, don't talk about it, be about it.
Well, yeah, that's it. It doesn't do anything to speak. You have to act. Actions, speak louder than words. Words can cut to the bone, they can cut to the heart, but only if you'll give them the power to cut you.
Exactly.
But they can cut. Words have power. There's absolutely, truth in that, because the pen is mightier than the sword. Because with the pen, you can change the mind instead of having to cut the head off. Now, on that whole conversation there, we got, say, 60% of the people who don't participate. And if they don't agree with both sides, then when they do participate, they're going to participate with a vote that doesn't agree with both sides, and that vote's going to have to be counted or hidden. So,
exactly.
Yeah, we got voter fraud. Absolutely. It's digital. Christ, you can't go online and create an email account or a bank account or a government account without it being hacked by somebody. So Yeah, how secure is the digital voting? Not. If we want to talk about voting and making a change in voting, we need to go back to paper ballots. Were they skewed with? Were, voter fraud happening with paper ballots? Yeah. It was a heck of a lot harder when you had 10, 25 people from all sides standing there with guns pointing at the people counting it. Things tended to be counted quite straight up the line. Because they'd all be shot if they did. So, yeah, we need to go back to a paper ballot. But the point is, if you don't participate, then you've done nothing and you are just a victim of not participating. We've got, the system in our state, under our Constitution, in this country under our Constitution, under this republic of this country, and the representative republic that the sovereign state of Michigan is. With all this being said, we bring the power to the state government. The state government lends a little bit of their power to the federal government. So all these people that say federal power usurps us, wrong answer. Federal has control over interstate commerce. If we're doing business with Ohio, they can control the business between Michigan and Ohio. But for us people in Michigan, federal government ain't got no control. The Constitution gives us the power and the control. Now we have to buy into the federal government constitution, which is almost identical to our state. Obviously, the federal government was done before our state. But with that all being said, the states give their power to the federal government. The federal government doesn't give the power to the states. This isn't trickled down, unalienable rights here. You have the unalienable rights. They don't trickle down to you. They trickle down from you.
Exactly. Well, and it all goes back around to voting, as people are scared again. That's what it goes back around at. If they vote, and I hear a lot of people that smoke cannabis that don't have medical marijuana cards, and they says, I don't want to be on paper for them to know. And that's a problem, and and they don't want to vote because they're scared. People are scared of it.
No, they're afraid that voting yes on a cannabis thing will get them a red dot on their mailbox, and they're probably right. But we got a choice. We either live in fear and be slaves and cower, or we stand up and be brave.
Make a change.
We stand up and be the unalienable rights, American Michiganders that we're supposed to be. If you don't think you can do anything to make a change, you're 100% correct. If you think you can do something to make a change, you are also 100% correct. So what do you want to be? You want to?
Well, I tell you, Martin Luther King's dream came true, and he started from the bottom and worked his way up. It just didn't happen overnight, and he lost his life to fight for what he believed in. And basically, sometimes, if you can stand up to the pressure, it's worth it. But many people can't stand up to that pressure because that pressure is holding you down. And if you, like you said, you decide that, okay, I'm going to vote, and now I got this little red dot on my name, and maybe it could cause me a problem, And like I said, he got there. He got his freedom, and so did a lot of other people that got their freedom because of him. So he stood up for it, and that's what we need. We need Martin Luther Kings to stand up for our rights.
Well, it's a selfish thing. We gotta stand up for our rights, and nobody else is gonna do it, for us. This is kind of what our founding fathers said. We have to be the responsible ones. Looks like I got somebody here. Is that Dana?
Yes.
Hi, Dana. I didn't see you pop in. I've been on a different screen, so I'm sorry if you were there for a little while. Welcome.
Oh, I was, but I was trying to figure out how to do the sign-in and things. I forgot how to do that, so I'm kind of lost over here.
Yep. No problem. We've been having a pretty good conversation. I think everything's been going better tonight than it did last night.
I was listening to your voting thing. I'd like to weigh in on that for a minute. I pray and I pray and I pray that if people vote, they get educated on what they're voting on, or please just stay home. I have to differ with you on that one.
I look at it like synchronized chaos. Remember, we were talking here, Dana and I were talking about, this is Dana Carver for anybody else out there who may be listening, don't know. We were talking about 3 weeks ago, and like I had told Dana, my premise on voting, my context is if I can vote people in who are at each other's throats, then they're at each other's throats and they're not at mine. So I vote for strife. I vote to make the government have to fight itself because they're already working together to slice our throats off. If we make their job easier, then they get it done faster and more efficiently. I'd rather see them
right, if you don't
harder.
have the few dissenters. Huh?
Yeah, so, pardon me?
Oh, somebody was saying something. I interrupted. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, so it's when I vote, sometimes I'll vote the wrong vote, just because if that vote wins, then the government's going to be fighting itself, and they can't come together and fight us as easily.
They're at that point where the fighting's already done. You've talked to me many times. There's no saving a lot of it, So
yeah, I mean, we're at the neck in the game there, where I agree with you. What we see is Tuesday nights, television. On tonight's TV, real life TV, the government gets to screw you, and you get to smile about it. Tomorrow's episode, repeat of today's.
Oh, and if you really want to get into the social part of the whole television programming, watch. It's all cops and doctors, and trust people, trust them. And even the signs on the walls, remember to get your flu shot. It's just subliminal programming. Oh, it's nuts. You don't even want to talk to me about TV.
If you have this ailment, take this pill. If you have this ailment, take this pill.
And no worries, it might cause anal leakage, right?
I love it. There's one I seen just the other day for plaque psoriasis. Now, I know people with plaque psoriasis. It's very uncomfortable. It can be very painful. But they got this pill out there that can help a small number of the people who suffer from extreme plaque psoriasis. And in the disclaimers, the very first thing they can do is, this may cause leukemia. They don't say it's potential. They say has been known to cause. So they're not even saying there's a potential you may possibly remotely get leukemia from taking this pill. No, they're saying it has been known to cause leukemia. So you can have leukemia and plaque psoriasis, or plaque psoriasis. Ask your doctor what's for you.
A lot of them even cause death. I mean, how can you give a pill that's supposed to help you may cause you death?
Yeah.
Or antidepressants that make you suicidal and more depressed. Yay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was on, she had a slew of things. And I started looking through the PDR, and 2 of the pain pills, Vicodin and Anoxy, somehow she was getting both, caused back pain. So I started looking at her. Is your back pain from the pills, you think? It was one of the main side effects.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, PDR is physician's desk reference for anybody who wasn't sure what that is. That's what doctors have in their offices that the pharmaceutical companies give them that says, this cures that.
Exactly.
But yeah, there's, it's just, kind of nutty, the stuff that's going on. I'm going to take a quick second here. For anybody listening who does want to call in and join us, that call-in number is 646-668-2239, and push 1 to get into the call queue, and we'll bring you on. This is, I guess we're going to call this, I decided to go with the MichICAN Nightly Radio, show. We'll just call it at that. We'll tie it up with the web forum and tie that all together. That way we can talk about everything and anything with no holds barred.
Right on.
But, yeah, we got about 23 minutes left. A little bit of time here. So
Well, I'd actually like to say hi, Dana. I haven't actually talked to you, so I would like to say hi. And nice to meet you.
And you are?
Dominic.
Oh, hi, Dominic. Right on. Nice to
Hi.
meet you.
Yeah, I'm sometimes not the greatest host.
It's all good.
You guys can whip me into shape before too long.
Well, you've been on Greg's show with me. It's not always the most professional now, is it?
Yeah, no.
We were talking about how NPC the Foreigner song was one time when he had me on for jury nullification.
Which one?
Sorry, it was Jukebox Hero.
Oh.
Yeah. We had to talk about that for a minute. We were supposed to be talking about nullification.
I guess being a musician, having played the song myself and sang it on stage before, I guess I never thought about Jukebox Hero as a politically incorrect song.
It would be a hearing impaired, vision impaired, mentally impaired person. That's the only way you could sing that song and be politically correct now.
I guess I'll have to listen to the song and put that into context.
Deaf, dumb, and blind kid?
Oh, yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying how the song actually... Oh, okay, because it uses that word. Gotcha.
Deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure played mean pinball.
Yep. Well, that's in Pinball Wizard, too. Which was in 1967 or 68 when Pinball Wizard came out, I believe it was.
Oh, but I heard that song all through the 70s and 80s. Maybe I grew up different than you, man.
Oh, yeah. What I grew up on.
But I could tell you guys what we got done so far. Everything's getting set up. It's kind of a little redneck, but it's going to be a nice little event, and hopefully people learn some stuff. It'll be great.
Yeah,
we got the canopy up tonight and some lights strung so people could see where they're going because it's pretty dark out here.
Awesome.
Those people listening that don't know, Dana's having an event this weekend. You call it the Liberty event, I believe?
Yeah, I couldn't come up with a name for it. It was a Liberty Fest, but it's not going to be a festival anymore because it was too much. I got sick too many times this year, so.
Sure. Oh, a lot of stress involved. That's cool. Up at Dana's place this weekend on Facebook, there's a thing. She's having a get-together, having some speakers. Yours truly will be there speaking about repeal. Dana will be speaking about the ever-important thing we need to talk about in this state, jury nullification. Ted Visner from over in Mount Pleasant will be up there.
Ted Visner's not going to make it.
Oh, he's not going to make it. Okay. Ted's got some serious stuff happening over at his home.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on.
For anybody that's had their home taken by illegally foreclosed on, that's a part of what Mr. Visner's working over in Mount Pleasant, and it's some pretty serious stuff. It goes right back to this MERS and the housing market crisis as well. I'm sure is tied into it now compared to where he thought it originally fell into.
Right. Plus, his girlfriend's going through a CPS case too, so he's a danger to the children. So.
Yeah,
wow.
We all are familiar with CPS and medical cannabis or marijuana or hemp or weed or pot or dope or whatever the hell you want to call it. The CPS will steal and kidnap your kids and give them Ritalin. And what were we talking about? Ritalin earlier? One of those drugs that the pharmaceutical gives you that will cause you all sorts of other issues.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Speed. Come on, man. Who doesn't want to wine and coke every once in a while?
We've had.
Well, my brother used to take the Ritalin, and he told me after he got done taking it over 8 years, as he grew up, he gave it up, and he said it just made him feel like he wanted to wander. Like one time he felt like he wanted to walk in the middle of the street for no reason.
Oh.
Didn't do it, but
Yep.
I mean.
But how many people do? I mean, these pharmaceutical drugs, I'm gonna get a little.
How many people actually did walk in the middle of the street?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I'm gonna get a little personal here. I got a good buddy of mine who ate a bullet last year, and he'd been dealing with depression for most of his life. Mild, sometimes severe. Had some family issues come up. Lost his sister, and things got hard for a while. But I mean, he usually dealt pretty good. He was a cannabis user, and he dealt pretty well with it. One thing to a different thing, he ended up getting off of cannabis and going back on prescription pills because of the pressure of life of being a cannabis consumer. And by consumer, I mean user, and not somebody who's just buying and selling, but somebody who's actually, using it. And about a year later, he decided there was nothing left to do but find the end of his gun. And this is what prescription drugs are doing. I lost my brother to a accidental overdose. He had sleep apnea, so he probably quit breathing and died of that. But the coroner couldn't find anything. He had some alcohol, a little bit of prescription medication that he was prescribed. Nowhere near enough to cause an overdose, but they dialed it in accidental overdose. Federal statistics today is 1 in 19. One person every 19 minutes is dead of an overdose. Now, please keep in mind when I say that, that is people taking their medications exactly as a doctor has prescribed. They're not taking anything else. They're not taking more than they should have. They are taking exactly what the doctor told them to take, and they're dying 1 every 19 minutes. That's one part of that statistic nobody talks about, is that statistic is those people who are taking the medication as prescribed. That's every 20 minutes, man, somebody's dying because of a prescription or drug overdose. So, yeah, the issues are expound, they're deep, they're long, they entwine into damn near every avenue of our life, and this is why cannabis is illegal.
Well, one of our speakers is going to be talking about things like that. Saturday night at about 7:30, Susie and RJ Bruder, they're from Hillman Health Food. They are going to talk about the different prescriptions and what they do, and give a few examples of the alternatives, and talk about fluoride and vaccines and all kinds of good, lovely stuff.
Excellent.
Awesome.
There's a lot of information that's available there. My daughter's got autism in mild, and she's high functioning. She gets along pretty good, but there's those issues and hiccups. She was on a medication, made her skin crawl. Part of the medication she was taking, so she quit taking it. Of course, we know the state just did the autism, but what we know for sure with the food side of it is the gut is almost being called like a second brain now. That the way our food is digested and our gut reacts to what's in our stomach when it digests it, and how our body processes that is deeply entwined to the issues that RJ and the other speaker will be speaking about. All real, and the stuff we're finding out medically with research, and a lot of this is because of our endocannabinoid system that they found this information is really, our nutrition is big. Hey, we got Bluesman on the line. Let me bring him on and see what's going on. Blues, can you hear us, sir?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, you're coming in loud and clear. How are you this evening?
All right, doing good.
So what do you think about all this stuff coming down the road we've been kind of going over tonight, and cannabis issue with the state? What's on your mind?
Well, I'm kind of just tuning in. I apologize. Thanks for having me on. I really have a lot I want to learn about, and I think it's very important that we talk about it. So I'm excited about it mostly, but I'm playing catch up on everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's this is basically our first show. I tried to throw one out last night on the online post line. It didn't work. My upload was really bad on my connection, so couldn't hear anything except every other syllable, basically.
Right.
So show, I don't know how many we got listening. Let me see if the thing tells us here. I'll see if I can check that.
Yeah, you have a lot of static.
Now is this Tim?
Yes.
That's Tim. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes, this is Tim, and then we got Dana and Dominic on the line with us co-host here. Yeah, it doesn't show me very much on the stats to see how many people are actually listening and online.
Dominic Cooper. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to be doing this nightly. From 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Monday through Friday. I'm going to go ahead and try to broadcast Saturday and Sunday as well, or Saturday at least, live from Dana's place up there. I'll be going up, and so hopefully we can get things set up there, and I'll be able to do a 2-hour broadcast up there just for smiles and grins and see how things go.
Let me. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What out there is like the next more reasonable solution, or what's like if your proposal would not pass, is there anything else that comes close, or are you kind of like on your own as far as you know?
Can I answer this one?
Yep. Please.
Okay. Don't think of me as a conspiracy theorist and a wingnut, but the thing is if this doesn't pass, we have to do it the way the Founding Fathers wanted us to do. I told Tim this. I feel kind of dirty with this ballot proposal because that is not how a republic works. But if it doesn't pass and we fight ourselves, what we have to do is everyone has to be openly civil disobedient, just like the Founding Fathers were. No, we are not going to follow your law. We're done with your law. This is legislation without representation. I have not been represented here. I refuse. Then we flush the world with jury nullification. Everybody learns what I know. They pass out the information. Every jury refuses to convict. That is how they did alcohol prohibition, the fugitive slave, becoming a Quaker back in England. I mean, it's good stuff. It's been way back in the Romans and the Greeks way back in the day had nullification. The people were like, we're not following that law. And that is the true remedy. The people saying, no.
Enough. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, because it boils down to do or be did. You can either do it or you're going to get done by it.
Well, that's
Yeah,
that's good to hear.
Well, as me and Tim were talking earlier, that it's got to be more than just one person to stand behind us, or I mean, everybody's got to stand up for what they believe in. I mean, you got, as he was saying, there's lots of people right now that are scared to stand up for their rights, and we need people to stand up for us to become able to work with in 2016.
Well, yeah. We need to have a lot of conversation. I mean, there's so many things that isn't done. I got into this setup. I started talking about possible, repeal last year when it looked like the Provisioning Act was going to fall through, as it did. So I wrote up something around last October, a quick little 2 paragraphs about just repealing this craziness. To what Dana was talking about, I agree to the extent that I don't feel dirty on that idea of doing a people's initiative. For the main reason is we've got the First Amendment, which is our right to speak, and when that is removed, that's when our Second Amendment has to stand up. So anytime we are speaking, it's better than throwing lead, because if nobody wants to throw lead, at least none of us want to throw lead, and none of us want to see that happen. But if we don't speak, lead will be thrown eventually.
I guess the reason why I brought that up, I think, is it seems like you probably have a better chance if the rest of the proposals are not in step with what the people want. If they're not cool, if you will, if they're not cool enough proposals, if they sound like the stuff I heard the other day on that video, that was the proposals on the video, and the only good thing was they also promoted going against confiscation, making that harder. Yeah, making that harder. But so far, if that's what you're going up against, then I say you got a lot more power behind you, maybe, than what we realize, or kind of like negative or shadow power or vacuum power, or whatever, a lack of support for the other proposals might really be, might be really in your favor.
Well, I was, address what you were speaking to as the hidden majority, that 60% that could vote that doesn't.
Yeah.
Because if those people show up, it doesn't matter how many of that side or this side go to the polls, because they're going to go to the polls anyways. When you put 30%, which is 10% more than the 20% that can win, that only half of those people that typically don't show up to the poll, when you put them on the lever, you have made dramatic change, because it's hard to hide a sudden influx of 30% more voters. You can't hide that.
And there are a lot of patriot groups out there right now that are just waiting for the people to bring forth a petition for this, because Campaign for Liberty, for one, they're like, we're tired of waiting for the cannabis users to do it the right way. And they're waiting for it to be no taxes, no anything, just a plant. And once it gets there, they'll vote for it. There are so many that are like that. And that is going for us. And there's so many that, whether they use it or not, they know that I have the right to use it in any way I please. They know that the hemp is such a good thing that can help our economy so much. Just so many things that are in our favor to do it the proper way. And look at May 5th. May 5th. Our roads, man. But we don't want to give Lansing any more money. People know that there's a $54 billion a year budget, and they don't need any more money. And I think we've got all that behind us.
Yeah, I think this could very well be like the Medical Marijuana Act, really. I mean, because I spent my life working in, like, the cable industry and sales, where I was directly in people's faces, in their homes, in their walls. I have seen things in homes that you wouldn't believe on both ends of the scale, from the $5,000 trailer to the $1.5 million mansion. When you get into people's homes, you get into people, you know them, even if it's only for an hour that you're hooking them up. You find things that they didn't want you to find. That all being said, there's a huge support out there. I think the closet community, dare I say, is nearly half the state. I'm in Midland, Michigan, home of Dow Chemical, Dow Corning, Marion Dow, and Bill Schuette. Believe me, the chemicals are heavy here. The news is not here. You had to go out of town to hear what happened in this town. Right down to the 1984 EPA, there was a big protest here in '84 where there were thousands of people here. You hardly heard about that in the Midland Daily News. You had to go to the Bay City Times to read the stories on it. Even though there were 1,000 people down here protesting Dow. Really funny community. But with that said, I know. I mean, I've lived in this community since I was 12 years old. At least 40, 50% of this community are probably closet cannabis users at some point. A lot of them will only use those holiday weekends because they got a job. They don't want to turn up dirty on a test. And that's a lot of them right there. I think that is the silent majority that I was speaking to. That number
I know
of people,
daily users that are in the closet on it.
Oh, yeah, I do too. That number of people who won't vote on it because they don't want their tag on a public vote that their bosses can see. That's public information, even though your vote's private. If they really wanted to see it, how hacking works, they can get it. But that all being said, yeah, they don't want to throw their pickle in the pickle slicer, shall we say, because they got a lot to lose. $100,000, student loans still to pay off, $200,000 homes, and kids getting out of high school ready to go to college. And they're making money so they can do that. And they can't upset
They're good
that
little
vote.
slaves.
Keeps a lot of people in the closet. But those are the people who will come out like they did in 2008. Enough of them. We don't need them all. We just need enough of them. To get on the ballot, 350,000 or 320,000, about 319,000 and some odd signatures is what we need, because we're doing a constitutional amendment.
And Blues Man,
groups are 252.
Yeah.
something else that I can give you. I go to the Tea Party powwow every year. I go to Campaign for Liberty schools, classes, and things like that. There are many, many, many non-ingesters who have said they would vote for the tomato plant, or they did vote for the 2008 measure. And there's many, like what Dom was saying earlier, like myself, I say it out loud all the time, I don't have a card. I don't care to have a card. I care to be free. And I'm going to be free my own way. But there's so many out there that I do believe would vote for it. I do believe, because I hear it all the time. People who are non-users that are in the liberty movement that know we have the right to do whatever we want with our own body. That no jury nullification. If they're ever on a jury, they're going to say, wait, that person has this, that this law is unconstitutional. There's no way it can stand. We have to make it not stand.
Right. You know, on that, I'm a firm believer of take the stick from the bully and beat him over the head. It would shine the cockles of my heart to see 1 million patients on the registry. Because how is the state going to ignore 1/10 of the state on the registry? I mean, we were at one time up to 160,000 patients, give or take a few, 90,000 caregivers, and now we're barely at 6,000 patients and I think 30,000 or 35,000 caregivers because they have scared many people back into the woods and into the closet.
The number of patients have gone down?
Yes, they have.
Dramatically.
Because the number of arrests have gone up.
Yep.
And the Supreme Court's rewriting it. Legislators are rewriting it. It's not the same act you voted for in 2008.
Right.
It is a completely different animal.
Yep.
Okay.
We're down to 1.5 minutes here.
Okay.
Before our 2 hours is up. But we can pick this up tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Blog Talk Radio / MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. MichICAN.us for the website. So we got about 1 minute and 25 here. You guys.
Well, I just want to put in another plug. Come on up north this weekend. We're going to keep it low-key, 7 to whatever when the band gets done on Saturday night. Awesome. Wonderful speakers. We have Chris Ann Hall. Look her up. She will teach you the truth. During the off times, there's canoeing. There's all kinds of things up here to do. And there's camping, so you don't have to go home. You don't have to rent a hotel. There's places to cook food up here, or you can go to restaurants. We have a few in our little town, and it's just a good time to get up north and learn a lot, a whole lot.
I'm looking forward to it. Dom, anything before we head out for the night? We're down to the last 40 seconds here.
Well, I'd like to just say thanks to everybody, and I think this thing should jump off pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow night. So let's throw some more people out there. Get some listeners, see if we can get some people in here. With that
sounds good.
For a few minutes here. Blues, thanks for calling in, man. Sorry we didn't have as much time, but we got 2 hours starting at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So hopefully y'all can come back and we'll pick this conversation up where we listen to the MichICAN Radio Show Network.
Cool. Appreciate it. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Tim. Yep.
I was going to say test my mic, and they said they could hear me.